Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Leadnap Gaming. Today we're talking about our new giveaway and planning your fleet for the eventual launch of Star Citizen.
Systems activated. Systems on.
Last week we talked all about buying ships for the current game, ships you can enjoy today and play with tomorrow. Today we're going to head down the other path, the one you spend your days thinking about long and hard. What ships do you need to buy to have the best possible launch day, whenever that should happen? That right there is a good segue out the gate to cover our prerequisite topic, the giveaway. Last week's video was produced almost a month ago, and the belief was that by now a rumored new concept would have dropped, and 310 would have finally released. Well, 310 just rolled to PTU. No new concept's been released, and yet here we are. Don't give up hope. I do evaluate a giveaway for any new release, but I can't promise anything I don't have. So instead, we're going to talk about this year's big giveaway. Here's the deal. We're talking for the foreseeable future about building that perfect fleet, and there's no better way to kick that off than by giving someone something big, something heavy. What, you ask? Well, I don't know yet, and I need all your input anyways. Other channels in the past have given away carrots and whatnot like candy. Unfortunately, here at Leadnap Gaming, we have a budget, and it doesn't include $500 ships each month. Rather than beat around the bush further, here's the deal. Each month, I will select 2 winners. Their names will go into the proverbial hat, and one person will be drawn in December to win the grand prize. If you get your name in the hat, it's a 1 in 24 chance of winning big. 24? Ah, yes. I've retroactively gone back to January and selected 2 names from videos from each month. To enter, simply comment on any video from 2020 and be subscribed to the channel. You can comment on every video from 2020 and get an entry for each, but you can't comment multiple times per video for more than 1 entry. July's winner will be picked from any comment submitted in July, August from comments in August, and so on. These are checked against overall channel comments, so if you comment on a video from January in August, it counts for August. But again, multiple comments on the same video count as 1. Furthermore, previous competition winners are eligible, and getting picked in 1 month does not prevent your name from getting picked again. I know it seems odd to announce a giveaway without the grand prize being mentioned, but our topic today is really big ships, so connect the dots as you will. There may be other prizes as well and whatnot, but it takes a while for me to line up sponsors for prizes, and I figured you'd all want to know now about how to get your entries in, rather than finding out in November. Which takes us to the next prerequisite. This topic had originally been penciled in as a 10-minute revisit to last year's fleet management videos. Based on your comments and feedback, as well as the complexity of the topic, there's just not a way to cram that even into a second 20-minute video today. I plan to make this series more robust and break this out by profession and size. Today we're going to talk capital and large ships in general. In the preceding videos, we're going to analyze fleet requirements for each major profession like exploration, mining, bounty hunting, and so on. Understand there's no way for me to make a video that answers specifically what ships to buy to make the perfect meta fleet for launch day. No one can. However, with any luck, this series will help you shape the thinking on your side on what ships to buy, how, and when. To understand how I've organized this, I'm breaking ships down into 3 separate categories. First, single-seaters. These are your Mustangs, Arrows, Prospectors, and Pisces. Small, crew of 1, normally not super expensive. 2, medium solo ships. As we get into the larger multi-crew ships, we need to break them down one by one in the most critical aspects for our use. Could you fly them yourself? 3, cruise ships. These require a crew to operate. And 4th, and I know I said 3 groups, but number 4 goes hand in hand with number 3, capital ships. CIG has captured our imaginations and wallets by giving us some massive ships we can walk around. These are 1-to-1 scale ships that include it all, not like even some Star Trek games that let you wander parts of your ship. But in Star Citizen, you can go in every room, every hallway, access tunnel, and so on. Ideally, like an episode of Star Trek, you're going to be out in space doing stuff and something will break, requiring you to head to hallway 3JD, access port 2 to repair that thingamajig. It's hard not to look at the concept images or walk large ships we already have. Imagine when we reach hallway 3JD that our engineering officer is already there, ready to report to us how long it's going to take to fix. We see the empty bunks on these ships and we imagine them full. Laughter around the mess table from that game of cards being played while you wait out the time of a QT jump from one part of the system to another. We look in the back of our cutlasses and we see patients in the beds or criminals, perhaps even players, in the prison pods. Yes, this is the dream. While CIG continues to wrestle with making a one-to-one simulation in space, one thing you potentially didn't consider when pulling out the wallet was the one-to-one reality here. First, the good news. Odds are, if you don't understand this next analogy, you're not financially in a position yet to make this mistake with CIG. Anyone who ever purchased a boat knows what I'm about to talk about. You're on the showroom floor. That big, beautiful beast is sitting there. Pictures of scantily clad, attractive swimmers are standing on deck laughing and cracking open a cold one. The kids are in their life jackets up front with huge smiles, one of them holding that big fish that's the size you tell your buddies they always are. It's exactly how you dream of being out on the lake every weekend. So you write that check. Sure, it's an expensive boat, but what's that to all the amazing memories you're about to have on it each weekend? Then the truth sets in. Microtransaction after microtransaction begins. Life preservers, cooler, fishing rods. Starts adding up. Fuel, docking fees, launch fees, insurance, required inspections. This thing's starting to get pricey, but it's no big deal. It's going to be awesome. Besides, you could save money if you don't park it on the lake. But, well, now you need a new truck to haul it. But you wanted one of those too, so it's all good, right? The engines require regular maintenance even if you don't sail it, and your boss has you working the next 3 weekends on that big project. In fact, when the second year rolls around and the missus is on you about only taking it out on the lake 3 times last year, this year will be different, and while you work to make sure of that, most of the time it's just you sailing around by yourself, because the kids would rather stay home and play Star Citizen on the computer rather than try and catch some fish with you. This was long, but it is a very real conundrum of buying big ships in Star Citizen. We are compelled to see the exciting possibilities and ignore that, unlike the vast majority of video games out there, Star Citizen is being designed to make you live the space dream. That means putting gas in your 890 jump and feeding the crew of your Javelin. A number of the ships we talk about today, we get frustrated with CIG over not delivering yet. But the steadfast truth is out there. The real bread and butter of your gameplay is already released and already in game. Somewhat. Of course, these are the solo ships I mentioned before. The most prime example is the C2 Hercules. Why do I say this? Around 600 SU and a crew of 2. It is the size and interior, from what we've seen, to give you the giddy, I'm walking around my ship feeling while you play, while also giving you solid economic power. Best of all, you can enjoy it with a friend or just hire an NPC if you even have to. The vast majority of Star Citizens, this is the largest ship you should ever buy with real money. Yet, we're a little ahead of ourselves here. Let's take a moment to talk about what CIG says how gameplay will be. To begin with, the stuff we already know. You have to put gas in them and repair them. Odds are you'll want to upgrade some parts too. This is pretty self-explanatory, but do consider that one factor given little thought today is fuel consumption. Eventually, there are 2 truths that will emerge. First, going down to the planet's surface is going to be more profitable. To begin with, the largest ships can't do this at all, and with a dynamic economy, the most profitable demand will be the surface buyers simply because less will make the expenditure to go there. The cargo runners, the miners, must go to the surface for maximum value, which means the pirates and criminals will have to follow for maximum reward, which means escorts and you get it. The second truth is travel time. We're fixated on a single system reality right now. People are already complaining about 45-minute QT times from one side of Stanton to the other. This matters because you can put the fastest QT drive in your Carrack and do it in 5 minutes, but at the expense of half your fuel tank. Now imagine transiting 5 to 6 systems with jumps in between. If time is money, or you want to do more than stare at the QT travel animation the rest of the night, you're going to need to pay up for a lot of gas. The truth is, you're driving an H1 that gets 8 miles to the gallon and you're heading across Siberia. Maybe you should have chose a different car. Next are considerations we know about only through other mechanics. We know eventually you'll have the ability to have AI blades, which means maybe you can avoid this next part. But while blades have been mentioned to allow AI turret control, very little about their other abilities has ever been said. It's easy today to say, I don't need a crew, I'll just use blades to run my turrets for defense. But you may find when the time comes, because CIG said it will matter, You'll need those slots to prevent QT jamming, or improve your scanning, or properly modulate your shield power. Subcomponents are just starting to make their way in. If you've already allocated all of them to functions before the total list of functions has been listed, you may be in for a rude shock. CIG will punish you somewhere for not needing turret gunners. Count on it. In fact, don't be surprised on crewed ships if a separate crew member has to spool the QT drive from engineering. Needed a blade. Or a navigator to plot the course for the pilot to fly. There's another blade. There's already salt about crewed ships not giving the pilot guns to shoot, but you should see that as the norm, not the exception. The point in Star Citizen is to have a crew to play with. That's the balancing factor. So plan to have a crew, which now means also plan to feed them and possibly even clothe them too. NPC or not, you'll have to pay them as well. And if you thought the previous boat story was bad, now you understand why even some of the wealthiest people alive don't own their own 90-foot yachts. They rent them. And here you are buying up that 890 jump just because. There's also physical inventory to consider. If you intend to walk on a planet with a harsh climate for more than 10 minutes, you'll need to bring with you the correct suit to put on. And that has to be stored on the ship. Multiple ships, multiple suits. Or a whole lot of moving it back and forth. Eventually, you're supposed to be able to move your hangar flare and other goodies into your ship as well to make it like home. But we'll come back to that. There is, of course, then the stuff that we don't even know about yet. Will you have to pay docking fees? Do unused components degrade? Who knows whatever else CIG dreams up between now and release? Parking your unused and massive collection of ships might just be expensive, just like real life. 1-to-1. But Jay Leno has a massive car collection. Yeah, and he pays dudes to maintain them and store them. So the point from here then is to be Jay, especially if your current fleet pick looks more like a listing of all concepts made by CIG. Back to that Herc now. It's all starting to fall together, I hope. A ship designed to head to the surface. Only one other person potentially required to operate it with you, but you could probably fly it alone. Great money-making potential, and when it comes to that physical inventory, based on pictures we've seen, it has the room for you to put all your stuff. We can't think of Star Citizen like EVE or even other RPGs like Red Dead Redemption. I firmly think eventually you are going to find, just like the guys who own 6 houses in real life, you spend 90% of your time on one of them. One ship is going to be your daily driver, your principal moneymaker, and for all intents and purposes, the one you store your fancy stuff on so that when others visit you, they compliment your exquisite taste. So how does this fit into those big cruise ships and capitals? Well, for some professional tracks, this is a must-have, and if you plan to be a real-life titan of industry or the battlefield, reality is such you might actually have to have them. Generally speaking, if you already own a big multi-crew ship, join an org, and in truth, probably a bigger one. Orgs provide the only relief from the terrible boat story, kind of like a joint boat owners club or timeshare. An org can provide the funds to operate the ship and more importantly perhaps the bodies to do so, and at a far cheaper rate than the open market for what that's worth. In turn, you'll need to provide that ship in support of the org's operations, which is fine because even if you could solo that Polaris, torpedo sniping lone cargo haulers in the middle of nowhere is going to be like putting your 90-foot yacht in a small pond. Big multi-crew combat ships are only going to be fun in large battles anyways, so you might as well pick a side and show up to fight. After all, Scotty can't tell you he just doesn't have the power to keep the shields up if you're not in a fight to lower them in the first place. The truth of Star Citizen on release is this. You can be Kirk and command a crew, or you could be Han at the controls of your pride and joy. The vast majority of citizens will be the latter, taking medium ships from A to B. Right now, your fleet picture sits mightily on socioeconomic lines. There are guys out there with 25 ship collections, with the majority being large multi-crew ships. They belong to orgs where half the members are just like them in that regard. Assume for just a minute that, like more and more modern MMORPG games these days, you have to pay a daily fee to upkeep your ships and property. And what if that fee was based on the size of the hangar required for each ship? Those orgs will crumble. After all, if every member of your 80-person org thinks the other 79 are going to crew their capital ship, it's going to be 80 massive ships going nowhere. I'm going to break each of these down by profession because bounty hunters and miners have entirely different considerations here. But the biggest takeaway from today should be this. If you're going to own the biggest ships, you will need to have a way to pay for them in-game. Real money isn't going to save you here, unless you're spending real money for in-game credits regularly. This isn't Eve where you can just buy up a capital ship and you're good to go. Today, thinking about the future, weigh heavily the considerations when buying anything that has a crew with more people than you have fingers on a hand. If you develop the in-game economic power to purchase a capital ship, you'll have the lasting economic power to fly it. It just isn't a real money consideration, so save that money right now. So don't buy a boat, at least not till you talk to your friends who also have them. And I'll be using everything we talked about today to break down fleet planning for each profession. So stay tuned for that and make sure you get your entries in for the giveaways. As always, like and share this video, subscribe if you haven't, and I will catch you all next time.